Get that dog. Oh, hey, bienvenidos a Fireballs. This boat turned out so sick, dude. Like, I don't know, like Rich from Hydraulic Gear, freaking Jordan from Precision Sonar, like all the guys that helped me to put this thing together, it really is just pimped out. Like, it's kind of sick. And it's crazy to think too, I think a lot of you guys don't know, like this channel started in a rental John boat. I used to drive my moped. I had a 49cc like scooter moped. I used to drive that joker to this lake and rent a John boat. I would chain a trolling motor to the back and put a battery at my feet and strap a bunch of rods to like the back of the moped to the scooter, dude. And we go rent a boat and try to catch freaking donks. I used to get pulled over too. Like I got pulled over by the state trooper once because he thought I had stole like rods and fishing stuff out of somebody's garage because I looked like this dirtbag kid like driving down the highway with a scooter and a trolling motor in it. So I mentioned to you guys when we installed the Fish Guardian on this thing that we're gonna fish some more tournaments this year. It's something that I used to do a ton of, was kind of poor, didn't have the money to continue doing it at a certain point in my life. So I want to kind of get back into it a little, not crazy, not like Toyota Series, Bassmaster, all that shenanigans, but a lot more like little wildcats and stuff because I think you learn a lot tournament fishing. So I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about some mistakes that I noticed that I've made over the past couple of years in the derbies that I've fished and really kind of think about correcting them. So this is going to be all about tournament fishing, all about kind of the mental and the decisions that you make that really can lead to a second place, a first place, a win, a third place, or being in that top 27 going, man, I wish the wind wouldn't have kicked up. So hit that like and subscribe button for me. We got Bogster and the Unicorn hanging out. Let's talk tournament derby stuff. The first one we all do, and I do it bad because I live in history sometimes, especially with the videos. Like I watch the videos and I'm like, dude, I caught him there last year. Like, oh my God, this is gonna be so good. Spending too much time in one spot or spending too much time on history. You know, like you got a limited fish or you're looking to like upgrade that limit and you're like, dude, I caught 2 5-pounders right here like a month ago or 3 days ago during practice. And you're like, dude, I'm gonna sit on it, I'm gonna break it apart, and it just doesn't pan out. And it's funny, one of the things that I noticed is, dude, when you're not catching fish, time flies. Hour, 2 hours, 3 hours go by. When you're catching fish, the world is nice, slow, and steady, right? So really not getting hunkered down in one area, not fishing history too hard. You have to take that knowledge in, but you need to be adaptable, dude. The other thing too is going big. You know, Lake Guntersville is fishing the best that it's ever fished. If you guys want to take a cool trip, come down here. You can grass fish, you can deep fish, go to waterfront. They'll tell you what you need. They'll hook you up. Like it's a sick lake right now. It's on an upswing. It's fishing good. And that means big bags, right? 20 pounds isn't going to cut it, dude. It's fun to catch 17, 15, 18, 19. But dude, guys are catching 24, 25, 27, 29, 30-pound bags. So really you need to understand the dynamic of your lake, and it's all relative, right? But you need to go big or not at all, especially in a one-day derby. If you're fishing a multi-day derby, yeah, you can be a little conservative because you're playing for an end game, you're playing for a multi-day sort of consistency game. But if you're fishing like that one-day derby, that one-day wildcat, you got to go big or not at all. And that's one thing, I like to be consistent. I like to go get my limit fish. I like to catch a lot of fish. I think I like to get pulled on. But sometimes when you're focusing on those bigger fish, it's not so much about the number of bites, but the quality of bites, right? And you have to kind of know your fishery, know your situation, have an idea of what the weights will be. But definitely one thing I need to do is go big or don't go at all. Don't be afraid to zero sometimes, right? Especially if you're fishing that one-day deal. And that's something that I really need to take into account. Number 3, lack of adaptability. We're all, I don't know, victims or culprits of this, right? And it kind of relates to the first one, was sitting on a spot too long, but you need to be adaptable. We all have this huge like wealth of knowledge of history of fish, how they behave in that, and you need to be flexible. It doesn't mean you completely throw a plan like out the window, but you need to bend and sort of bounce a little bit. A great example is, you know, 2 guys are sitting on like your 2 best spots, right? Well, you can't go fish right next to them. At least I don't. That's not the way I roll. So you got to be willing to be like, all right, dude, I caught him there. Why did I catch him there? How do I find something else that sort of fits the bill? And some of my best days on the water, especially on Guntersville, have been when I've like bounced like 15, 16 spots and one of them just fires, dude. So you got to be willing to leave, to move, and to change. I've been fortunate enough to fish with like, you know, JT Kenny, dude, down in Florida. My buddy Jacob Wall is a great example. All these like pro anglers who are freaking like sick. They're good, dude. And one thing that I've noticed across the board is they are the most malleable dudes. A story I remember with Jacob Jacob is one day we were fishing. I'm throwing a Kitech at these fish, and they will not commit. They're like coming up and not committing. He's throwing a jerkbait. They're kind of like coming up, but they're not doing it. I continue doing what I'm doing with the same 0 results. He goes, sits in the back of the boat, modifies a jerkbait for like 2-3 minutes, dude. Comes back up, and he has it sinking down ever so slightly, and he goes to catching him, dude, and closing the deal. Wasn't an amazing day, but he got the bites that closed the deal for that day and made something work. And just that flexibility, whether it's modding your baits, changing your bait selection from your favorite color to something different, changing the size of the bait, changing the way the bait behaves, or jumping spots, switching from fishing offshore fish to transitioning to like grass fish, dude, up shallow, or focusing on wood versus rock. Things along those lines, just being open-minded enough to make that sort of that plan outside the plan, not being like a religious planner, being someone that adapts to the conditions. You have the knowledge, you have the experience base, rely on it, dude, and follow that. And that's something I need to do more. Don't be that guy. I try not to be that guy, but every once in a while I'm that guy. After the Derby, you're at the ramp, and there's always that dude. It's like, bro, I lost 37 pounds of fish. And you're like, all right, Larry. Sure you did. He's like, dude, I had this one break off, had another pull my bait off, bend the hook, all it. Don't be that dude. Like, we're all that dude in one way or another, and it happens. And one thing I've found, especially with fishing a lot of these spinning rods, with braid to fluorocarbon, with lighter line, 8-pound, 6-pound fluorocarbon, and just fishing a lot of open hook stuff, jerk baits, crankbaits. Fish come off, you break fish off, and you lose fish. One thing that I need to be more detail-oriented about, and I think it applies to all of us, is you got to check your equipment before you make that cast, dude. Like, you got to check your drag. You got to take a look at your hooks. I never want to do it because it takes time. It's annoying. And, like, you just want to go. You want to fish. You want to flow. You want to do your thing. But taking that extra 2 seconds to just pull on your drag and make sure it's not loose because your buddy threw your rod and he loosened up the drag when he caught a 6-pounder because he's fighting it at the boat. Make sure your leader knots are solid, dude. Make sure they're well tied, especially when you're dealing with that 6-pound and 8-pound fluorocarbon. Make sure your loop knots don't have nicks in them. Little things like that. Literally, if you look back and remember tournaments that you fished, how many times did that one 4-pounder, 3-pounder, 5-pounder, 6-pounder make the difference between you finishing, say, 10th and 4th? I know there's been multiple occasions for me where if I would have just been somewhat more detailed with my equipment and taken that extra 10 minutes, 5 minutes before the Derby, or even during the day, which is even harder, to just adjust my stuff and make sure my stuff was integral and could do the job that I needed it to do, I would have won some derbies. I would have finished in the top 3 multiple times. There's multiple times on Okeechobee that's been the case, where just mental mistakes, not being detail-oriented, not being prepared. I mean, you'd think, dude, you got all this cool equipment, you got your stuff, take your time, set it up, where you're just kind of lazy. You can't be lazy about that equipment, about how it's set, how your drag's set, how your knots are, because it'll cost you that 1 or 2 fish, especially on a one-day Derby. That's going to cost you the whole game. The last one is the worst one for me. And it's a personal freaking problem, dude, that I need to figure out. Contrary to what some of you guys might believe, a lot of times, especially on Gunnersville, it's still, I've been here I think 5-6 years now. It's still a new lake to me, dude. I still don't quite get how these fish behave all the time. And it's frustrating because I don't totally understand the seasons. I lack some confidence a lot of times, right? And confidence, dude, whether you're on fish or not, confidence is the driver to winning a tournament, dude. If you believe you're on fish, if you believe you're catching them, if you believe you're making the right decisions, you might not be on the perfect stuff, but you're going to close the deal more than the guy like me who's a little bit wishy-washy and worried he's making the right decision. So that's one thing where dock talk, right? It can get in your head and absolutely screw up your plan, screw up your confidence level, screw up your ability to kind of read the lake and read the fish. What I actually have started doing personally is just not interacting with people a couple days before a Derby. I don't want to hear how you're catching them. I don't want to hear what you caught. I don't want to hear anything about any aspect of anything. Dude, you might be on 29 pounds and I'm catching 16 pounds. I might be on 32 pounds and you're catching 16 pounds. I don't want to know either way because for some reason with me, it gets in my head and it screws with me. I want to go out there, just be confident in what I'm doing, make my run, take my shot at it, be adaptable within my own kind of constraints, and just, send it, bro. Those are the 5 mistakes that I'm going to try to correct this year. I'm sure there's a million more, but in the end, you make it fun, you kind of enjoy it, and you kind of go your own path, and you're not going to win everything. Nobody's going to win everything, except for like KBD and some of these new kids who are absolutely stellar. But the fact is, you can win it on your own terms, and you're going to be more confident, and you're going to have more fun in the process that you're going through, and you're going to learn some stuff. Because the reality is this, and this is what I think is so cool about tournament fishing. Winning's great, right? But what I find with tournament fishing is that pressure, that sky pressing down on your shoulders, that watch clicking away to the end of the day till 3 o'clock and weigh in. It makes you sort of think and adapt and make decisions in a different way. And that drives you to be innovative, to figure out new things, and to push yourself. And that's the biggest thing. You're going to fish a little bit faster. You're going to cover more water. You're going to try something that's a little outside of your normal range. You might randomly figure something out where you like get this bite and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to just like change what I'm doing today and just follow this. But you got to be willing to kind of take in and adapt to those signals, open up to them, and really utilize them and have a good time doing it. You know, be confident, enjoy it. Don't let the pressure kind of grind you down, which sometimes it does. And don't talk to your buddy. Don't listen to Larry Largemouth at the dock, dude, because all he's going to do is talk that shit and get in your head and make you scramble, dude, because I've been there a million times. Follow your path, catch your fish, try to do the best that you can, execute, keep your gear right, and you're going to win, dude. Yeah, like your time will come, and I'm hoping that's going to be the case for me. I'm going to play around. I was able to win 1 derby last year, and I think I got another little second. We're going to try to fish a few more, try to compete with some of these younger guys and some of these old hammers that are out here on Guntersville, and see where we can hang, and especially what we can learn from the process. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely drop down any mistakes that you're making tournament fishing, because frankly, a lot of these are kind of universal. They apply to all of us, and if we think about them and try to address them, it's going to be a lot better than putting it off and not understanding it. So drop them down in the comments box. I'd love to hear your perspectives on that. But we'll see you next time. I'm going to go fishing with my buddy Unicorn Bog back here and try to catch a few bass and learn a few things about Lake Guntersville. Later, boys.